Hey everybody, how's it going? Stoutman coming back at you once again, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some things that I got during the Black Friday sales from Target and Walmart. Now, I went to Walmart, didn't get anything, but I did order something online, and I'm glad I did because I wouldn't have been able to find it at Walmart, but I'll discuss that later. I also went into Target, which is actually kind of a pleasant place to be on Black Friday. Maybe not super pleasant, obviously, but far more pleasant than any of the other stores I've ever been to on Black Friday. I'll put it that way. So, yeah. In fact, I went to Target twice on Black Friday, and both times didn't really have that much of an issue. So, yeah. On top of those two places, on top of Walmart and Target, I'm also going to be talking about some things that I got in an order that I made like literally a month ago. I think at the beginning of November, actually. And it took this long to get here because they were items that were coming from the UK. I got some more UK Blu-rays from Amazon. So I'll talk about that when I get to that. But first things first, let's talk about what I managed to pick up at Walmart, and then Target, and then we'll get to the UK stuff, eh? How about that? The first item that I got from Walmart's website, and yes, I do have to say this year, at least one small kudos for them. They had a lot more items, and there was a lot more Blu-rays and stuff online than they had in previous years. So, like the past few years, you go on Walmart's website and you try to find Blu-ray that's listed on sale in their Black Friday ad, and it's not there. You know what I mean? They might have a select handful of random titles that are on sale, but almost never the ones you actually want. If you want the good ones, you got to actually go in the store, right? And I guess that was the case for some of the titles, like Lethal Weapon Collection, which apparently some people were able to find, but I didn't see it. I saw Lethal Weapon Season 1 on DVD, but I didn't see the collection of movies on Blu-ray anywhere, nor did I see any sign that it was there at all, or had been there, nor did I see any sign that there was a place for it in the store anywhere. Like, I went to the aisle that it might have been on. Nothing. I didn't see any marker on the aisle that would have indicated that it was being sold there previous to the Black Friday. So, like, it just seems to me like this particular title was not at all available at the Walmart that I went to. And that's kind of troublesome when you don't really have that many Walmarts around here. At least not as many as you do in, like, the middle of the country, right? If you're, like, in the middle of the country, then you're golden. But if you're on the outskirts, where there are a lot more liberals, and the more liberals there are, the less they want Walmart to build, and the fewer Walmarts they build as a result, even though those same liberals will go to shop at Walmart, and then, like me, complain that there aren't enough in the area. It's just a whole stupid debacle. But either way, it's just not fun. In my opinion, it's not fun going to Walmart on the best day, and if you're a Blu-ray shopper like me, it was hell going on Black Friday because, like every other display, every display in the store, people were reasonable, people were calm, there was an orderly line and people were going through it very quickly, It all made sense, the way they laid it out, all made sense. But then you get to the Blu-rays and the DVDs, right? And there are people just like digging through the trenches of Blu-rays and DVDs here. Like, there literally just were a bunch of different cardboard bins. I know I've seen some other people who went to Walmart on Black Friday, and they had like standees and all these like well-organized Blu-rays and on a shelf, a cardboard shelf, mind you, but it was a sort of like on a shelf format, like you see behind me there, kind of like that. But in my case, I went there and there was like one standee that had like one cardboard standee that had the shelving unit thing or whatever the heck it is, because it's not a real shelf, it's made out of cardboard, right? But there was one like that, and then every other Black Friday shipper out there was a bin. So literally, you had people scrounging around these bins and then throwing items from one bin into another, so you couldn't tell what the prices were, and then none of the prices were marked. None of them. Maybe okay, no, there was one marked. There was one price marked. Every other price, no way to tell what the hell it was. And I'm digging through here, and I'm not seeing anything other than what was listed in the ad. And the ad listed, like, in the case of like DVDs, right? It listed 250 plus at the $4 level or something like that, right? 250 plus different titles. I didn't see any titles there that weren't in the ad. None. So there was like 20 different titles there in that for the $4 thing, when it said there would be 200 plus. And I'm just like, what the hell even is this? This is bullcrap is what this is, So I spent about 5 minutes digging through there, realized there was nothing here that was different from what I saw in the ad, realized that the Lethal Weapon collection that I really wanted to get was not there, and just said, screw it. And then I also found out later that they were selling the double pack TMNT set with both of the TMNT movies in the tin thing. They were selling that for $10 at some Walmarts. Of course, was not at my Walmart. They had like a special collector's edition version of, I think it was just Out of the Shadows on its own, but they did not have that double pack in the nice tin that I really actually would like to get, and I would have gotten it for $10, but it wasn't there. It was not there. And there was no sign that it ever had been there, like I just said about everything else. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of the way Walmart does these things, if you can't tell. But I am. I am very glad that they did manage to offer a lot of the items that they had in the Blu-ray and DVDs and whatnot online. A lot more than usual this year, I would say. And because of that, I managed to find two that I wanted, two that I picked up. Sadly, Lethal Weapon Collection was not among those that they had put on the website, but one that was on there for only $10 was Logan. So I finally managed to snag Logan on 4K here for $9.96, and that is a freaking steal for what I consider to be one of the best movies of the year. I won't say it's the best movie of the year ever, period, or whatever. I won't say that, but I will say that it's definitely one of the best movies of the year. I really loved it, and this is probably my favorite Wolverine movie now. Every other Wolverine movie pales in comparison to it. I liked The Wolverine. Wolverine X-Men Origins was terrible. It was just wrong in so many levels. I like Hugh Jackman in the role of Wolverine, right? So the fact that he did this particular movie, and this is a much darker take on Logan, on the character of Wolverine, right? I really loved that. I felt like they did such a good job with it. This is just such a good movie, and I knew that I wanted it in the best possible quality, and I know that I'm going to get a 4K TV with a 4K player at some point in the next year or two. So like I said, that's one of the reasons that I've been saying, I should say, that's one of the reasons that I've been picking up 4K titles, and that's one of the reasons that I decided to pick up this particular title. Very happy to have it, and for such a good deal. $10. I doubt this is going to be $10 again for quite some time, so pretty good stuff. Very glad to have found that for such a good price. And then the only other thing that I got from Walmart, oddly enough, we discussed Ninja Turtles, right? Well, I decided to pick up Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows here for $6. It was on sale for $6, and that is actually the lowest price that I've seen for this particular title since it came out. And I don't know if that's Paramount trying to make back as much of their money as possible, but I feel like the longer you hold on to that higher price point, the fewer people are going to buy it, and the less likely you're going to be to make a return, make any kind of money on the movie. So, I'm as disappointed as they are that it didn't do that well, because this is way better than the first one. The first movie that came out in theaters, like the one that came out in 2014, was pretty much a disappointment to me personally. But this movie was a massive improvement because it was referencing all the stuff from the original animated series of 1987, right? So you got Bebop, you got Rocksteady, and they're kind of acting like they did in the original animated series. Not entirely, but kind of, sort of. You got Baxter Stockman, who is just bound and determined, pretty much ready to become the Fly Baxter Stockman, and I gotta say, pretty well performed by Tyler Perry. I'm not a huge fan of the guy, but when I see him in movies that he doesn't make, I like his works. I think he's a pretty good actor, so, there's nothing wrong with Tyler Perry in my book, especially as Baxter Stockman. I felt like he did a good job. Stephen Amell, I was hoping that he would be a little bit better of a Casey Jones, and I didn't really necessarily have a huge problem with him as Casey Jones, but I felt like he could have been better. I feel like if we gave him a second chance, he'd probably nail it, but on his first go around, there were a few moments where it just didn't quite work, wasn't quite as good as it probably could have been as Casey Jones. And then you got Krang, obviously. Krang, I felt like, was a nice touch, and they had the Technodrome. I mean, this was clearly calling back to the 80s Ninja Turtles, the goofy, fun 80s Ninja Turtles. And I feel like what the problem was with audiences, I feel like the problem really was with audiences, because audiences, in this case, I feel like they have an idea of what Ninja Turtles was to them. They think of Ninja Turtles and they think back to watching it as a kid, and then when they're a kid, they don't realize how goofy and ridiculous this show is. They just think it's freaking awesome, freaking cool, man. You got these ninjas, they're turtles, and they're kicking butt, right? But if you actually go back and watch the show, like I have since then, like, go back and watch that and then watch this, and you will see this is actually a loving homage to the original animated series, and nobody can tell me any different. I'm pretty much an aficionado when it comes to Ninja Turtles. I write for TeenageMutantNinjaTurtles.com. I have written for that website for several years. For it's got to be like 6, maybe even 7 years now. No, not 7, 6. 6 years. So, yeah, I have some experience with Ninja Turtles, guys, and I'm telling you, this was a loving homage to the original animated series, like it or not. You gotta go back and watch the original animated series and see for yourself how ridiculous and goofy and just silly it was. Like, the writing was silly. Everything about that show was just goofy. It was just... I can't even... You might be thinking back and thinking to yourself, but I remember it being so awesome. And it was awesome, but, hindsight is 2020. You feel like there was something incredibly special about it, and it was like this kind of violent show, because back then parents were telling lawmakers to do something about shows like this. Back then, there was like this fear that the Ninja Turtles were going to cause some kind of outbreak of child violence or something like that. Kind of like there was with Mortal Kombat, if you remember that as well. And to the point that even in the UK, they had to change the name to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles because ninja had been, not outlawed, but it had been, become one of the banned words that you can't use or whatever. So, like, there was a real issue with parents, groups, and adults thinking that kids were going to become these violent people because they watched Ninja Turtles. And if you actually go back and watch the show, it makes it even more ridiculous to even think about the fact that that happened, because the show is just so PC. It is so basic. It's so like friendship and love, and it's almost like there are some episodes that feel like you're watching an episode of Care Bears or something, and it's just so goofy. There's that saying, turtles fight with honor, and they say it a lot more frequently than you would think, and you really don't see them using their weapons that much, especially in the later seasons, which the later seasons, of course, reflect all the concern over the parents' groups freaking out, right? So I highly, highly recommend that if you did not like this movie, go back and watch the movie that is the source material for, or watch the cartoon that's the source material for this, and you'll see it actually is just paying homage to that. So if you look at this movie and you're saying it's goofy, it's stupid, it's silly, like, that's the point. That's entirely the point of this movie, and I feel like they did a fantastic job with that. I give this one like a 7.5 out of 10. It was not perfect. I still don't quite like how the turtles look like everybody else. I'm not a huge fan of the way the turtles look, but I knew I wanted to have it in my collection because I really enjoyed it for what it was. And so I'm glad to be able to get it now here for $6. Pretty good price. Not fantastic, but it'll do. Now we move on to Target for the layman. And Target was interesting because I was hoping that they would have a lot more stuff that they didn't have listed in their, in their ad. Kind of like how I was hoping Walmart would have more stuff. But they didn't, really. They didn't. I wasn't too upset about that, though, because they did at least have what they promised in their ad. And it was well organized. Their shippers at Target are so much better, so much easier to access, easier to see what's there, easier to just reach down and grab what you want because you can see what you want just sitting there because it's all in a row. It's well displayed, you know what I mean? And Best Buy, for that matter, I didn't go to Best Buy this year, at least not in person, but Best Buy typically does that as well. They have everything nice and neat where you can see it, make it easy for you to get in, get what you want, and get out. That's where I feel like Walmart fails. Like, I bet you their sales weren't that good this year because they weren't thinking about getting people in and getting people out with their shippers. They were just thinking, here's a trough, let people go through it. And that's just ridiculous, because then you're going to get people staying in one place and not moving for other people coming in the store for hours. Don't do that. You're just going to piss everybody off, and then nobody's going to want to shop at your store. So stupid. But anyways, I digress. Although I didn't find anything more than what I wanted from the ad at Target, I was able to find what I wanted from the ad. So the first thing I picked up, even though I didn't need it, and probably will never actually watch it, at least on here, because I can watch it online, Stranger Things Season 1 on Blu-ray. And yes, I was kind of like thinking to myself, but do I actually need it at the time that I purchased it? Because even though it was $10, and $10 is a fan-freaking-tastic price for a collector's edition like this that literally just came out. Incredible price. Even though it was a really good price, I have Netflix and I have no intention of getting rid of Netflix anytime soon, and this is like a proper Netflix original. It's not like something like Marvel where It's another property that Netflix acquired that is eventually going to end up on Disney's service. And what if I don't want to pay for Disney? It makes sense for me to get the Marvel shows on Blu-ray because then I can watch them and not have to pay for Disney's service if it comes to that, right? But Stranger Things is an entirely original creation, and it's an entirely Netflix creation. So if I intend to keep my Netflix subscription for as long as Netflix exists. They have a lifelong fan from me, and I am probably never going to give up on them as long as I live and as long as they live. So for someone like me, there's no real reason to get a Netflix show on Blu-ray, but I do it anyways. In this case, I did it because the packaging was so freaking awesome, and I don't think you can deny it. They got this VHS packaging, makes it look like a VHS. I love how there's this, you know how in the original, in the back in the VHS days, the covers, the cases had these little circular things here so you could pull out the VHS tape, and then of course you actually pull it out and it looks like a VHS tape. I think that's so freaking awesome. It's a lot bigger than a VHS tape, mind you, but yeah, it looks like a VHS tape, and I just thought that was amazing and awesome. And then to actually get into the contents here, there is a little flap right here. If I can get it, it is magnetic. I like that. That's a nice touch too. It's a magnetic seal. And then you open it up, and there's the Blu-rays. And here's a poster, Stranger Things poster. And underneath the Blu-rays, if you pull this up here, you have the DVDs. So it's got Blu-ray and DVD here. I guess if your internet went out for a while, or you couldn't afford to pay for your internet, so you couldn't use Netflix, but you wanted to watch Stranger Things, well, here you go. And yes, I am aware. There's probably going to be somebody in the comments saying, "Hey, did you hear that they stole the artwork for the VHS thing?" Yes, I am aware. Netflix actually took the artwork for this particular VHS, this picture of a VHS that they used as the backdrop for this. They took that from a photograph that somebody else took, and they didn't give that person any credit or any money for it. And while I would say I have a problem with that, I also feel like, just based on what I see from the differences, that there's probably enough different there that it could be considered fair use. First of all, there's this big Stranger Things sticker there that isn't in the original picture, and here that isn't in the original picture. I can't remember, but I don't think that there's a Please Be Kind for Wine sticker there either. There are just a few little touches here and there that are also not in the original picture. Also, this is a blown up kind of stretched image of the original picture. So like, they have changed the original picture quite a bit here for this particular release, for this artwork that they did here. And I believe there's something about transformative artwork, transforming somebody else's artwork and making it your own, that is protected under copyright law. So, you know, it'll be up for them to decide if somebody wants to, if the person who took the picture wants to take Netflix to court, they can go ahead and do that, and Netflix will probably win, because, I mean, honestly, I think there's enough here that's been changed that the person who took the picture doesn't really have an argument, other than it was kind of crappy for them to take the picture and not give them any credit. But if you change it enough, then the question is, do you actually have to give them credit? I don't know. that'll be an interesting thing if that comes up. And I feel like that is a discussion that we should probably be having at some point, but I'm not going to have it right now because this video is already running a lot longer than I expected because I keep ranting. So anyways, the next title that I got at Target is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This is another one that I saw on HBO. They had it as one of their, new movies on HBO. And since I currently have HBO, I've been using it to watch some of their new movies that I haven't had the chance to see in theaters. And this is one that I didn't get the chance to see in theaters. So when it arrived on HBO, I was very glad, very happy to be able to have the chance to watch it. And I loved it. It was fantastic. This is like an 8 out of 10 at least. As a matter of fact, I would say that I enjoyed this better than some of the Harry Potter movies. I feel like there are some Harry Potter movies that just weren't even as good as this movie was. So, say what you will, but I actually really liked this movie, and it was only $6 on sale for a fairly new movie. I think that's a pretty damn good price, and it's just a lot of fun. So, I felt like, yeah, gotta get it. Speaking of fun movies, I also decided to pick up for, again, $6, Lego Batman movie. Now, this one was pretty funny. I saw this one in the theaters and really enjoyed it, and I've since watched it again. It was on HBO, so for I think it was for Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving dinner started, I put it on the big screen and the kids were watching it and everyone was having fun and all that stuff. And it's a really good movie, so it still holds up, and because it held up so dang well, I just said, you know what, $6? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get it. I mean, these Lego movies that they're coming out with lately have been really good. I still haven't seen Ninjago, but I'm sure it'll be pretty fun. I know the kids liked it, so we'll see. Either way, at least I have Lego Batman, and it was a really good price, so pretty cool. Next up, that was the last thing I got at Target, so let's start talking about what I got from the UK. And it took a month to get here, but I finally picked up some titles I've been waiting to pick up that are only available or are just cheaper in the UK. This first title, I believe, is available here, but it's like from a specialty, something of a specialty label, so I haven't been interested in picking it up here, but when I saw it for a really, really good price in the UK, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll do that. So I went ahead and picked up Triangle. I know a lot of people didn't like this movie, but I don't understand why, because every time I watch it, I'm blown away by how good it is. I just love how the story is, as it says, a triangle. The way that they tell the story is very interesting in that matter. It's different than the way that you see movies, stories told in movies and other movies, you know what I mean? They don't do the traditional 1, 2, 3 act kind of thing. They do it a little bit differently. I don't want to give anything away, right? So I'm trying to say this as spoiler free as possible, but it's really hard to explain how the plot in this movie works without giving away any spoilers, basically. So all I can say is that they do the plot in this movie differently than in most movies, especially most horror movies. So it kind of looks like your basic horror movie, but it is not a basic horror movie. It is a fantastic horror movie, and I only have it on DVD, or I only had it on DVD, I should say, until now. And that was because I found it on DVD for $2 at a Blockbuster closing years ago, and I just never bothered to pick up the Blu-ray, and lately I've been thinking I want to get it on Blu-ray. But if you look it up here, it's kind of like a higher price. You got to pay like $10-15 on average, if not more, just to be able to get the Blu-ray here. So I just said, screw that. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the triangle, or just not the triangle, but just triangle from the UK here, and I paid $15 total for each of the items. It was like $14.50, but $15 basically for both of the items that I got here from the UK, both of the Blu-rays. So I guess you could say I paid about $7.50 for it total, and that is including shipping, and it is including the inflation and the difference of, value of money, basically. You know what I mean? So the British pound, the Great British Pound, is worth a lot more than the US dollar. So I had to pay a little bit more than the value of this was in the UK. But if you're in the UK, you can get this for like $3 on Amazon. So highly, highly recommend it, because it's or not $3, but £3, obviously. So yeah, highly recommend it. It's really good. I really enjoy it. So yeah, anyways, got that, and it even comes with some special features. That's nice. And I also decided to pick up a movie that is not available on Blu-ray here in the United States, and there is a reason behind that. There's a story behind that. So let's get to talking here. Decided to pick up here Stretch, which is a hilarious movie. I highly recommend anybody who likes like Grand Theft Auto or the Hangover movies. This is in line with those, and it is so funny and so good. You really need to see this. It's an underrated hidden gem that deserves more attention. And one of my favorite aspects about this is one of the reasons that it's not available on Blu-ray here in the States. And that would be that Chris Pine is in the movie, and he plays one of the most ridiculous characters I've ever seen him play. Just incredible. Like, I never knew he had that range to him. You're used to seeing him as Captain Kirk, right? Wait till you see him in this. You'll barely recognize him because he's so different. I think it took me a little while to realize that it was him, because I was just like, that can't be. That's really? So the story behind that is, apparently he agreed to do this movie for the director, Joe Carnahan, because Joe Carnahan had him on to be like a lead in the A-Team movie, and at the same time he was approached to do Star Trek, and Joe Carnahan and Chris Pine both knew, okay, this is going to be something like launches his career if he takes it, so he's got to take it. So Joe said, okay, go ahead and take it, but I want you to agree to do another movie for me in the future. So Chris Pine agreed, and he got the role as Captain Kirk in Star Trek, and the rest is history, right? But a few years later, Joe Carnahan was doing this movie, and Chris Pine signed on pro bono. He agreed to do it for free. Wasn't paid a dime for his role in this, and one of my favorite roles he's ever done, by the way. But wasn't paid anything for it, but because of the way that things work here in the U.S. at least, because of the rules in regards to not receiving pay for one's work, and not even, I believe if you watch the credits, he's not even in the credits, right? I think he gets like a special thanks or something like that, and because of that, because he's not listed, this can't be sold on Blu-ray or something like that. I can't remember exactly how or why it works that way, but it just worked out that way. They're not selling it on Blu-ray. He's not listed in the credits. There's just a lot of what the heck is even going on there, but whatever the case may be, I was very happy to find out that this is actually available on Blu-ray in the UK. I wanted it in highest possible quality, and, well, that's what this is. Yes, you can watch it online. I think it's still on Netflix. I believe digital is probably the best and easiest way to see it in the United States, because at least on digital you can see it in somewhat high definition, as good as high definition gets through streaming at least. But otherwise, you're just stuck with DVD. They do not have the Blu-ray here. So I went ahead and decided to get this here. It was, I think it was like about £5. But again, I paid a total of about $14.50, so about $15, which means $7.50 total in US dollars to bring this home. And I'm happy to have it because, again, you can't even get it here. This is a title that you cannot get in the United States. So I had to have it. It's really one of my favorite new movies, so I had to have it. And one of my favorite new comedies in the last like 5-10 years. So yeah. Anyways, that is it. That's all I got to show you today. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later. Peace.